Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're zeroing in on something pretty fundamental in IT auditing,
Mm,
how audits actually get planned and scheduled.
exactly. We're talking General Standard 1202, audit scheduling, and its partner, General Guidelines 2202.
Right, think of these as your look behind the curtain, understanding why certain IT things get looked at and when.
Yeah, and for anyone who interacts with IT audit, maybe you're being audited or you use their reports, knowing this stuff, it offers a real advantage.
It does, cuts through the jargon, gets to the core idea of proactive assurance. So our mission today,
Simple, really. Clearly explain the requirements, the best practices for audit scheduling according to ITF, the IT audit framework.
which is basically the main rule book for IT auditing. Okay, let's jump in.
Let's do it. So General Standard 1202, it's direct. It says IT audit and assurance practitioners shall, that's the key word, develop an audit schedule.
Shall, so not optional.
Not optional at all. And, think about what happens if you don't have one. The audit function could just end up, putting out fires, reactive, and potentially missing really important areas, things maybe outlined in their mandate.
Precisely. That schedule is there to make sure that all the responsibilities from the audit charter, that's the document defining what IT audit covers in the organization, get the attention they need.
Okay, so it's about fulfilling the mandate. But there's more to it, isn't there? About assurance.
Right. It's also about providing adequate assurance. Assurance that the organization's hitting its strategic goals, its operational goals, at least within those important audit areas.
So it's proactive, helping spot issues potentially before they become big problems.
That's the goal. Contributing to the organization's overall health, not just checking boxes.
Okay. Now, Standard 1202 also says something about reevaluating these plans. It's not like you write it once and you're done, right? Absolutely not. That's a crucial point. Performance Standard 1202 specifically mandates that these sort of longer-term schedules get reviewed and updated at least annually.
Annually. Why so often?
Well, think about IT. Things change incredibly fast, don't they? New tech, new threats, maybe business priorities shift completely. The schedule has to keep up.
That makes sense.
And what's interesting is it also says if planned audits get bumped, maybe because something urgent comes up,
Yeah.
they should be reassigned, rescheduled. You don't just let important stuff fall off the map permanently.
Right, you adapt, but you still cover your bases eventually. That maintains that core responsibility.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does this high-level schedule connect to, like, the nitty-gritty planning for one specific audit?
Good question. That's the link to Performance Standard 1203, which is all about engagement planning.
Okay.
So 1202, our focus today, sets the overall schedule, what gets audited, roughly when. Then 1203 takes over for each individual audit on that schedule, detailing the how, the scope, objectives, resources for that specific engagement.
Got it. So 1202 is the strategic roadmap, and 1203 is the detailed travel plan for each leg of the journey. Makes sense.
Exactly.
Now let's shift gears slightly to the practical side. General Guidelines 2202. Audit scheduling. These are the how-to instructions, yeah.
That's a perfect way to put it. Standard 1202 gives the requirement, the what. Guideline 2202 gives you the practical advice, the how.
And what's the first step according to the guidelines? Developing and maintaining the schedule.
Yes, and the absolute foundation for that schedule, it's having a comprehensive inventory of potential audit areas, often called the audit universe.
The audit universe sounds big. What goes in there?
Think of it as a complete map. All the IT systems, applications, processes, infrastructure, everything the IT audit function could potentially look at.
So everything under their responsibility.
Pretty much. Having this inventory is, essential. It ensures that over time, you get comprehensive coverage. You're not missing big chunks of the IT landscape.
And it helps you make informed decisions about where to focus, I guess.
Exactly. Where to focus, when, how often. Based on criticality, though, we won't dive deep into criticality assessment itself today.
Right. Just knowing that the universe helps you see the whole picture first. Now, the guidelines also talk about being responsive, which echoes the standard's point about reevaluation.
It does. Guideline 2202 really hammers home that annual review. It's not just ticking a box. It's about making sure the plan is still relevant, still aligned with the organization's current risks and priorities.
Can you give an example, maybe?
Sure. Say the company rolls out a major new cloud platform, or maybe there's a big cybersecurity incident that highlights a new vulnerability.
Okay.
The schedule needs to be flexible enough to slot in new audits or maybe shift priorities to address those critical events. We saw this a lot when remote work suddenly exploded. Audits of VPNs and remote access became top priority almost overnight for many.
Shows the importance of that flexibility. It's about adapting to reality. Now, another key term that keeps coming up is risk assessment. How does that fit into scheduling?
It's fundamental. Guideline 2202 explicitly connects scheduling to the risk assessment process. Standard 1201 covers risk assessment itself in detail, but the key takeaway here is that risk assessment informs the schedule.
How so?
Well, risk assessment helps you answer which areas are most critical, what's the potential impact if something goes wrong there, and based on that, how often should we audit them? How deep should we go?
So higher risk means more frequent or more detailed audits.
Generally, yes. That's the idea.
Oh.
If, say, a recent internal review found major control weaknesses in financial reporting systems, you'd expect the risk assessment to flag that, and the audit schedule would likely prioritize a deeper dive there sooner rather than later.
So risk assessment is like the compass guiding the schedule.
Yeah.
Got it. The guidelines also mention the audit charter again. It seems like everything circles back to the charter.
It really does. Guideline 2202 reminds us, the schedule must support the responsibilities defined in the charter. The charter says what IT audit is responsible for. The schedule lays out when and how often they'll address those responsibilities through specific audits.
They're intrinsically linked then. Charter sets the mission, schedule is the action plan.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Now, you mentioned long-term schedules being reviewed annually. This kind of implies there's a difference between that broader plan and the immediate short-term planning, even if the guidelines don't spell it out separately.
That's a really sharp observation. Yeah, while there aren't explicit long-term versus short-term sections in 2202, the whole concept of an annual review of a forward-looking plan inherently suggests different time horizons.
How do you see that playing out?
Well, you've got this longer-term, maybe multi-year view that gets adjusted annually. That's your strategic planning, thinking about audit cycles over time. Then you have the more tactical planning for the specific audits happening in the next quarter or year, which falls under Standard 1203. Engagement planning. They fit within that larger evolving strategy.
Okay, so strategic overview, adjusted periodically, and tactical execution fitting into that. Makes sense. So let's just summarize the relationship between Standard 1202 and Guidelines 2202 one more time.
Sure. The simplest way. Standard 1202 is the rule. You must create and maintain an audit schedule. It's mandatory.
The what's?
Exactly. Then, Guidelines 2202 are the how. They provide the practical advice, the steps, the considerations for actually doing it effectively, building it, maintaining it, using it.
Standard is the law. Guidelines are the implementation guide.
Precisely.
Okay, so bringing it back to our listener, why should someone, maybe not an auditor themselves, care about all this scheduling detail? What's the real value for them?
Well, understanding this process gives you, the listener, really valuable insight. It shows IT audit isn't just random, it's proactive, it's risk-focused.
It demystifies it a bit.
Yeah, exactly. If you're the one being audited, you get context. You understand why your area is being looked at now. If you rely on audit reports for assurance, knowing the structured scheduling process is behind them, it should give you more confidence that the audits were relevant, that they targeted the important stuff.
So it adds transparency and credibility to the whole audit function. Less like a black box.
Right. And think about the alternative. Without a proper schedule, an organization could have huge blind spots in its IT controls and governance. That affects everyone.
Definitely. Okay, let's wrap this up then. Key takeaways from our deep dive today.
Okay. First, General Standard 1202. It mandates an audit schedule. This schedule has to be based on the audit universe, that inventory of potential audit areas, and it absolutely must align with the audit charter.
And it's not static.
Not at all. It needs regular reevaluation, at least annually, to stay relevant and responsive to changes and risks.
And the guidelines.
General Guidelines 2202 provide the practical how-to. They stress using that inventory, being adaptable, and crucially, linking the schedule directly to the risk assessment process. The schedule supports the charter and shows a proactive approach.
So bottom line, it's a planned, risk-driven, adaptable strategy ensuring IT audit focuses on the right things at the right time. Provides a lot of clarity.
Well said.
Now, for a final thought to leave you with, think about how these ideas, proactive planning, risk-based prioritization, regular reevaluation, could apply elsewhere, maybe in your own work, your team, or other parts of your organization.
Yeah, what lessons from this structured IT audit approach could actually improve planning or how resources are used in other areas? It's an interesting question.
It is. And remember, this deep dive gives you a solid foundation. For even more insight, you could always explore other related ITF standards, like those on risk assessment or the audit charter itself.
Definitely worth looking into if this is relevant to your role.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us today, and stay tuned for our next deep dive into another crucial piece of the IT audit and assurance puzzle.